Hello, patrons. Thank you for your support of Cordkillers. I have started this in my normal, somewhat mocking tone, which is inappropriate because really, you guys make this possible, and we could not be more grateful and thankful for the fact that you see value in what Brian and I are doing here, and you give value back to support that. You guys are incredible.
It's almost as though we remind them every single week that they changed their lives and that we will continue to be loud, live, and independent as long as they are interested in listening and throwing us a few nickels here and there. And one of the
Brian
things...
brings the loud, I bring the live, and we both do the independent.
Well, we do it independently is the thing. We never do the two together is the thing.
So we have some responses from the previous State of the Cordkillers that we can run through. And then I have a big question, and Brian has a big question.
Let's flip it. Can we do our big questions first?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Okay, yeah.
You want to do your big question first?
Yeah, okay. So
Go for it.
One of the things that happened, do me a favor, Bryce, if you bring on up the brand new schwood.com. So I recently had Bryce throw together a link. Once hacking the system premiered, I realized a bunch of people were trying to, were going to discover Brian for the very first time, and they would want to know what he's up to. And I'm sort of made of these, 7 or 8 projects, including the live stage show, the TV show, Scam School, Night Attack, and Cordkillers. And I sort of put on my I'm a nobody who knows Brian from National Geographic hat, and I pictured, go ahead and throw what it looks like. I imagined clicking, schwood.com. What's this? He does a thing called Cordkillers. And clicking on Cordkillers, I don't know that our current web design is terribly friendly. Like, it does say the phrase, watch what you want, when you want, on whatever device you please, but usually the most recent thing is a spoiler in time episode or whatever. Like, it suddenly occurred to me that maybe our website needs to have a clear statement of purpose and a clear invitation to join us on the cord cutting revolution. Does that make sense?
I don't know. Because we're talking to the patrons right now. And those are the people who already know our purpose, right? So if we're asking them, do you think our website needs to have more purpose to bring in people unfamiliar with the show? I could see some of them just because they love the show saying, yes, let me help you figure that out. But I could also see a lot of them saying, I don't really care. I already am at the show. So there's 2 separate questions. One is for us personally, to each other. What can we do to make it easier for people to understand where they are once they've landed there? And putting a logo up and a little bit of a better description probably would help with that. I mean, if you click through About Cordkillers to About Cordkillers, that video is way too large. But once you scroll down, that's a much better introduction to the show, and it could use improvement too.
I guess
we just need to do some maintenance on that, and some of that I could do myself. Some of it could be asking somebody to come in and help us tweak the Squarespace site and make it prettier.
Well, if I remember correctly, I think T2 had put together some mock-up or somebody had. I apologize if I can't remember who. And we had an interesting discussion about how you personally really dig very simple designs, for websites, and I'm on board for that. But it seems like from what I'm hearing that the side effect of that is that it's not simple to understand what this page is and what it's about for new people. And my gut says that we should try to make it more accessible. I don't know.
You're right. We should try to make it more accessible. We should try to make it more accessible to people who have accessibility issues, but we should also try to make it easier for people to understand what the show is when they get there.
I guess
how big of a priority that is a whole different matter. And that's something for you and I to decide. I think there's another side of it, which is why I was talking about, like, well, if you're a patron, you might not care about whether it's understandable to newbies, which is there anything else that this site could do that you want it to do as a person who already knows what the show is, right? I mean, changing the tagline, putting a logo in there, that could make it more appealing to newbies right away, and there's more you could do there. But there may be other things that would actually also help existing viewers that would have a side effect of making it more appealing and understandable to someone new.
That's a really, really good point. I would say that I think a clear statement of purpose that shows up the moment you go to the website, and it's like, we are people who believe, or whatever that statement of purpose is, I think would help out incredibly. All right. So what was your big issue?
My big question is based on the fact that we have created, and here I am. I'm actually trying to log into our Squarespace site, and I was going to be all fancy and do something, but I shouldn't do that. I should pay attention.
Yeah, you were trying to fix stuff on the fly.
Yeah. We've created a tool over the years that we've done Frame Rate and Cordkillers. And this tool is this show that people check in on to be entertained and informed about their options for what to watch when we've got the statement of purpose down.
Correct.
What do we want to do with that tool? And this isn't a question of like, hey, there's a problem with our show that I want to fix at all. This is we've really fine-tuned this. I think we have a great format. I think we could probably cut some hairs, tweak some things here and there as we move along, as we always will. But overall, I think we're hitting on the right cylinders. And we could decide, would Frontlines be better in a different format, or would it be, could we shift some of the Frontline stuff back into the other segments, whatever. Those are minor things. My question is the overall direction used to be someday there's going to be this thing called cord cutting, and we're trying to cover it ahead of time. And we got to the point now where there is definitely a thing called cord cutting. And we could go lots of different directions with it, or we could continue to be an overview. That's also an option. We could go the more telling you how to do stuff and comparing services as more and more services come along and helping you calculate. We could go the more gear-centric route and say, like, here are the boxes out there. Here are the things that matter. And this is something we haven't done as much of, which is, talking about how to put a system together. What's the optimal system? What's the box that gets you all the things you want? We could go with the more entertainment route and say, hey, guess what? Now you can watch really good, entertaining programs without ever giving a dime to a cable company, because there's amazing stuff on Netflix. You can get broadcast television on Hulu. And what's the best way to go about that? What's the best way? What are the best things to watch, essentially? And it's no mistake that I just named our three big segments, right? The streaming services, the gear, and what you want to watch. I think there's an opportunity, if we wanted to maybe lean into one of those a little more. There might be an opportunity to add a segment, maybe, if somebody's got good ideas, or we could continue to be like, let's be the 30,000-foot view over all this stuff.
Can I propose something that we have not discussed before?
You're already married, Brian.
But that I suspect is hopefully this will resonate, if not with you, then with certainly everybody listening and watching right now. I feel like the show has an astonishing, it's the best balance we've ever had between content, systems, and gear, right? Gear is the nuts and bolts you need to do it, which again, I think will only get more interesting moving forward. The systems is the biggest, most political, controversial area. Content is where I personally lean to, but I think that's part of why it works so well for you and I to work together, is that you grok the gear a little bit better, and I just want to throw my hands up and be the artsy guy.
And then we meet in the middle on the services.
Yes,
right?
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And we have genuine debates and stuff. If I was a patron right now, do you know what I would say? I would write, and I'm going to propose this. I'm not saying anyone, I'm not asking anyone to say I'm right or whatever. But if I was a patron, I would say, I love what you do. You have nailed the recipe. Now is the time. This is one of the most important issues happening in tech content out there. The one thing I would like to see from you guys is to be known by more people as the Cordkillers. Like, you are the Cordkillers. It's not like Cordkillers is a movement. You two, Brian and Tom, you're the Cordkillers. So every time any new Roku box comes out, how come I turn on CNN and I see someone who's not you guys talking about it? That to me seems like where we should go. Like, and again, only if that's fun for our bosses, but I suspect they would. And it's astonishingly easy because, folks at CNN, you get some story about an Apple TV or whatever. They're like, I don't know, who do we bring in for this? And then they sit around and they're all like, I don't know, I guess so-and-so knows a thing about tech, so they call in so-and-so or whatever. Like, this is unclaimed space. And we're genuinely, think about this, Tom, wrap your mind around this. You and I, at this moment, are legitimately probably the most qualified individuals on the planet to speak about where these trends are going and where they should go and where and to give interesting punditry on it. Like we're sitting on a gold mine in that regard. And again, we will always, our job, what carves out this time in our schedule is that we're being paid by the patrons, right? That's all that matters. However, I suspect the patrons would find it really fun for us to go out and be ambassadors to the world on this kind of thing.
Sure. That doesn't answer my question at all.
Well, no. Your question was how should we?
It also seems like something that would be really fun for Brian Brushwood to do.
Oh, no, dude, I would not do it without. I would not do it without you.
There's no criticism implied in that.
No.
It's something I've done before, and I'd be happy to do it some more because I think you're right. It would be good for us as the show.
Right.
It would bring more people to the show. I'm not convinced that the patrons would have anything more than a giggle out of that. I'm sure a lot of them would feel a certain sense of pride that, hey, we backed this from the beginning and look at our boys up there doing well.
Okay, look,
but you just said we should go on old media and tell them how they're all going to die, too.
Dude, number one, that would be very fun.
I'm trying not to sound flippant because
yes.
My honest feeling is I don't care. I care that the people who are valuing the show want to value the show. And yeah, it's important to make sure that the people who might want to value the show hear about it so they get a chance to value the show.
Tom, here's the thing. Either cord cutting's a thing, in which case either cord cutting is a thing or it's not. If it is a thing, then there needs to be the number one authority in it. I would like it for it to be us.
I don't care. That's all I'm saying. If you want to, I'm fully 110% going to support
I care, and I suspect a lot of them care. And if me and them care.
But to me, that's, again, such a lower priority, and it's all about marketing. It's all about making sure that you put your face out there. And I've done it. It doesn't bring that many people to you. They forget who they were looking at. They forget who was saying things. It really doesn't do that much for actually helping people, other than maybe bringing a few people into the tent and making some people, have a smile on their face because, hey, look, the Diamond Club got flashed on CNN. That's amazing.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
I'd
love to have Diamond Club symbols flashed on CNN.
The priority for me is what do we put in the show?
I mean, to be honest, I personally am extremely satisfied with the mix we have. I think that the weakest of the segments is the Gear Up. But that's not our fault. That's the fact that gear doesn't come out regularly. I think we do a good job about balancing, time allotted for each of those. The only thing that we were getting consistently some people complaining about is that they weren't fans of the movie draft. We've moved the movie draft over to Spoiler in Time. Spoiler in Time very quickly, judging from the emails that I'm getting, Spoiler in Time very quickly is going to need its own feedback segment, its own mail thing. Spoiler in Time is going to become its own show, and
that's kind of it is its own show, really. It's just going to become more and more like
correct. And you know what? I want more people to watch it, and I want more people to know that we're the best in the world at this. I want to go on CNN with Tom Merritt.
Dude, go on CNN. But that to me, that's a side note.
No, yeah. All right, real quick.
That's the number one and most important thing we should do for Cordkillers,
right,
in my opinion.
I'm saying like it's like Tom. There's two factors in here, and they're just pushing in, and then it's like and then separately
like that,
right? Like this is a moment that we could do on CNN. This wouldn't be amazing for you? Come
on. Sure.
More importantly, I suspect it would make our bosses very happy.
High on my list of things that I need to spend time accomplishing.
Okay, all right.
Going back to the Spoiler in Time becoming its own show.
Yes.
I 100% believe that there's something, and this is why I'm asking that big question about like, hey, we've got this tool. In which way should we use it? We could take under surveillance, right? we could mash that down to be more of a like, here's something that's coming out this week, right? And focus it tightly and move more of it, like the what we're watching and here's a new trailer, into spoiler in time. And make spoiler in time, really beef spoiler in time up into a like all about awesome things to watch segment, and make Cordkillers a more practical gear and streaming how-to show, or not. Well, I'm not even suggesting that that's the right thing to do. I'm like that's an option. And I'm curious if people hear that and say, that sounds like a horrible idea, that sounds like an awesome idea, or actually, I don't want you to change Cordkillers at all, but do add that to spoiler in time. Maybe that's a response.
Here's my hesitation, is it sounds like you're making the very sensible decision to take all the content and sort of sort it into left brain and right brain. And then what happens is you get two separate shows, one totally left brain, the other totally right brain, which I don't know is going to benefit us, because then all of a sudden we attract, we divide the audience, and right brain, people who love gear and tech love the gear and tech show, and then they don't see the point of even watching the other show. That's my hesitation on there.
Yeah, and that's fair. And that's always when you're talking about spin-offs or companion shows, that's always the question that you're trying to address is, do more people get something out of it if they get a little of everything, or do you actually serve people better if you give the right brain people, even though left brain is a crock, but
I know it's a lie, but you know what I'm talking about.
I mean, Call for Help in the screensavers was exactly that. Call for Help was tools, screensavers was toys.
Right.
And so they did cross over some, but they were trying to address different audiences. And I think they managed to do a good balance of allowing a certain amount of crossover. And you're right. I'm not deciding, but I'm saying, would it be better to focus that more? I still wouldn't want to get rid of the entertainment aspect from Cordkillers entirely. It's just a question of, would people like it better if if maybe a couple things were moved, or would they not? If they say no, don't do that, then yeah, I'm all on board.
One counterpoint to all that, just remember, our very first beta episode of Frame Rate was nothing but content. And it was only a year into it that we realized that we were talking about this emerging transition or whatever. And we've already moved. Cordkillers is, I would say, 60% tech and punditry and the mechanics, and still a healthy 40% of opinion and consumer perspective and entertainment. And likewise the reverse is, or I'd say, spoiler in time, it's like 80% all, what's the art and how do you feel about it? I personally am comfortable with that. Any more separation, I don't know, I just worry about dividing the audience or whatever.
Well, and that's why we're asking the audience. Exactly. It's like, what's your sense? What do you guys feel?
Can we bring in Bryce right now to take us through all of the questions that we got, or the feedback that we got?
I had a couple more things to say.
Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
One is the other direction. Cause remember I said, we got kind of caught up on this idea, this example of taking entertainment, putting over in spoiler time. That's just a thing, right? There's also the idea of expanding under surveillance and making the main topic be more about, hey, coming out this week, because freaking Ayaz Akhtar, man, God bless him, is on top of that with a show on CNET now that's like, here's what's coming. We could focus on that stuff more and tilt it away from like, hey, you know what? You don't have to know anything to buy a box. We'll when the new boxes come out, we'll tell you how good they are and whether you should buy one or another. But what we're going to focus on every week more is, what are the cool things to watch once you've got your service, once you've got your box set up. We've moved past that, being, when the iPhone came out in 2007, it was amazing. Now smartphones are much less interesting to follow. We could start moving that direction ourselves as well. So I'm trying very hard not to make it Tom wants to do this, but to say, because I actually love the show exactly the way it is. What I always think is important is to check in and say, hey, what if we tilted more this way or tilted more that way? So the other side of this, the other option would be to cut down and say, you know what, we're not even going to have a gear up segment. We'll come up with a way to deal with gear when it's announced and never have to force it. And in our main section, we'll move under surveillance up and make that more important, that, hey, new stuff is being premiered, and what do we think of it based on the trailer, and what do we think of the pilot episode, etc.
Man, that's tough because I feel a conflict of interest where it's like, that's all I want to talk about is that stuff. But of course, the magic
but the
is
value to that is we set you up for success, right? If that's what you want to talk about, then that's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for me. I don't know for sure if it's good for the show. So we'll leave that.
This is all just spitballing.
We'll leave it to our bosses.
Well, and just to be fair, we're not going to leave it to you as in, like, if you write us an email, we'll do exactly what you say. We're going to listen to everything we get.
Right.
And then Brian and I are going to go, okay, we heard all these points. What do we actually
do? We heard all your voices, bosses. Screw you. We're going to do this.
Not screw you. No, definitely not. But it's not, we're not going to just put it up to a vote because not everybody votes.
So what else?
If the United States has taught us anything. Voting is a horrible way to make a decision.
Anything else you want to poke on before we go through the
No,
feedback?
Bryce, let's take it away.
All right, Bryce.
Hey, guys. So when we did the State of the Cordkillers about 2 months ago,
yep,
we got some feedback, and we guys have seen it. But how about I read through these and you guys say if you feel like
you hit it and we'll give you our
lightning
feedback.
round.
All right. Some people were very upset that Brian and Tom still have cable.
All right. First of all, you can't say still when I went back to cable. It's like.
Well, you went back to cable a little while ago.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, but you can't say like, look, Brian, you're not still doing heroin, and then it's like, oh, but
they're not mad at you for the still
quit
part.
For like 4 years.
Mad at you for the have part.
Yeah. Well, guess what? Sometimes I don't know. I have no excuse. I got nothing. Tom, you want to justify this?
Yeah. I've tried to be very upfront about the fact that we have DirecTV because my wife still feels like there's things that she needs from it. And I'm not the only one making the decision in the house. B, I do think it's valuable for me to be able to look at it and say, oh, okay, this is the cable experience now. And I have it side by side with Roku and Apple TV and everything else, and be able to say, I get that this is a better experience or this is not a better experience. HBO Go and HBO Now are a perfect example. I am watching everything on HBO Now. And the fact that I have an Apple TV makes that easy, obviously, because it's not available outside of the Apple universe. But it is better than HBO Go. And I wouldn't be able to make as good of a comparison if I hadn't had DirecTV. That said, I am definitely moving towards the point where it won't really be valuable to have DirecTV anymore, even for a comparison. And at that point, I'm going to be like, well.
To be honest, Tom, here's where I'm at. I feel like at any given time, one of us should have cable and the other one should not. Now, if you
can be just as irresponsible for neither of us to have cable. You're right.
So if you want, I will cancel cable and go back to, but I feel like I spent 2 years in that wilderness. If you want to make the flip.
Yeah, I don't know if we're there yet.
Okay, all right. Well, then maybe I'll quit cable. Let's. I mean, that would be kind of a fun
figure that
rule.
out. But I'm with you.
Yeah. All right. What else?
Someone said that they felt the audio cues were a little long, and maybe we should speak over them sooner.
Yes,
which I think already happened.
Yeah, no, I think we fixed that.
Yeah.
More hands-on hardware reviews, possibly reaching out to fans, a la Tech and Trade on DTNS.
That's not my strong suit. I would like to refer to the left brain for this.
Part of it is, I mean, I definitely buy a lot of this hardware, so I'm not going to say I couldn't do more reviews. I don't like doing reviews. I think they're kind of worthless, frankly, personally, because all I'm saying is, here are the specs, and here's what it does, and here's my first impression. I think it's more valuable personally to live with the stuff the way Brian and I do and say, okay, as we have been using it in our real lives, here's what it's done. And so I've tried to do that. I could do more out of the box type reviews.
People really, number one, universally, people love unboxings. Number two, people really loved watching you unbox the latest whatever. And again,
like those got a lot of views though.
I mean, they got the views among the bosses.
Okay. Unboxing. Yeah, but the other side of this, where they're like, maybe reach out to fans. We 100%. Maybe we should make an effort to do that. But you send us some reviews, we'll make use of them somehow. Whether it's just posting them on the blog,
oh my gosh,
or putting them at the end of the audio podcast, or whatever.
I don't think anyone has ever sent us a package that they shot themselves that we have not used. Full stop. So if you're listening, if you have an opinion, if you have a take, audio, video, you unboxing, write a blog post, whatever it is, I mean, we will use it.
Great. Yeah, hot take segment.
Skirt.
More international coverage and potentially more international guests.
Man, that's tough. I mean, number one, we know like 5 guys internationally, which we're happy to have on in rotation, but understand like this is some kung fu that both me and Tom are just personally weak in. We don't live in that world, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I do lots of international stuff on DTNS. We could try. I think I've been less pushing for this because what Brian's 100% right about is we don't live outside the United States. So I can't tell you personally how it is to live outside of the United States. And we could bring on Breckie Thomason. We could bring on Patrick Beja. We could find more people, certainly. And we've had those people on. But I feel like Cordkillers, unlike Daily Tech News Show, becomes exponentially harder if you try to make it appeal to an international audience.
Especially because so much of Cordkillers is about the culture of, I mean, Cordkillers, if I were to define our demographic, it's people, 30 to 50 years old who grew up and remember the big 3 days of broadcast television, who are witnessing the transformation of cable television and now the complete democratization of internet content, and who look on with fascination at the millennial generation and the fact that they have a total different perspective on everything. With that being the case, that seems like a uniquely United States American.
It's not. I disagree with that. It's not at all.
All right.
You have a very vibrant cord cutting culture in the UK, and you have a very interesting and different cord cutting culture in places like Hong Kong and India. And I've tried to put some of those articles in the show. The problem is you have to start all the way over again when you introduce one of those subjects.
Yeah.
And especially, because I have the added advantage of doing Daily Tech News Show, I already know some things that I can bring into the show. But then Brian's like, well, wait a minute, how does Sky work in the UK? Because, it's not obvious when you don't live with it how all of these interrelationships happen. So I'm not saying we shouldn't do more international guests. I think that's the best way to do international coverage, though.
Yeah.
I think us trying to do international coverage would do it a disservice. I mean, just the few times that we've tried to do some international stuff and we've made assumptions and then people write in and say that's entirely wrong proves to me like what we should do is like try to bring on more people who are like, this is how it works in our country.
Well, and in fact, most importantly, like the folks that we bring on, whatever stories they bring to the table will be the ones that by nature they're the most informed about and the most passionate about.
Yeah.
All right. Merch.
Yes.
What's going on with merch?
Oof, we should do merch. Tom.
I wish I knew somebody who knew how to run a store.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. The problem is if what you guys want is merch, there's very simple solutions. We just say, everybody make your own, I don't know, what are, Bryce, you probably know, what are some of the...
T-shirts,
yeah,
mugs.
T-Furies or whatever. The problem is that all of those, the artist, the person who owns the logo, the person whose name that ostensibly everybody's buying the thing for, makes virtually no money. Like virtually none whatsoever. Like the T-shirts sell for $16. The cost that they claim is that it was $15, and then me and Tom split a single dollar for 15 cents. Or 50 cents, I guess would be better. So with that in mind, it's very difficult for me to want to push that button. If we did want to push that button, it would be because we're going to have an exclusive run of 1,000 mugs that have the Cordkillers design and the Cordkillers creed or something special that you will never be able to get anywhere else. and because we had 1,000 of them made, we can get them made for $3 a piece and then sell them for $9. And then it's just tough because we're a very diffuse audience, and selling anything onesie twosie means pretty much you guys feel like, oh, I did my part and I'm holding a Cordkillers mug. Every time we see that mug, we're all like, yeah, we saw no money from that mug at all. Why don't you just write the word Cordkillers on a plastic cup?
Please do. Because the way I look at it is it's one more place where people know about our name.
I mean,
so write Cordkillers on your plastic cups.
Wait.
All of them.
Wait, hold on. We started this with me saying people should hear our name on CNN, and we're ending it with you saying like
that's
we should
a lot of effort.
See our name on a.
And
it's really
it's
not
the same argument, except the end result is almost no one remembers your name and goes to your website.
I know, but no, but the footage of our appearance on CNN lives on.
Okay.
That cup is gonna fall.
I'm not gonna
into
repeat
the trash.
myself.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. The cup definitely lives on too.
More
than the CNN.
Keep going.
Okay. We had a suggestion. Maybe split the show into hardware and content days. I
Nope.
think you guys pretty much.
Yeah. That's
we kinda
splitting the
covered that in the
brain.
big question,
We don't
yeah.
want to do that.
A lot of people notice we have. I don't know if you know this when we do the frontline segment. We have a lot of extensions.
We really don't though. We have maybe half of them get extended.
That
Here's
seems
what
like
I
a
think's
lot.
going on. There are people who take the Frontlines rules very seriously, way more seriously than we do.
Yeah.
And they get very frustrated that we've set up rules and we're not following these rules. So there's three options we could do. We could just get rid of the time and just say, forget it. We're going to get, well, hold on. Let me give the options. We can get rid of that and just say we're not going to have the fiction of a time limit anymore. Frontlines will just be quicker stuff, and that's it. We can do it the way we do it now, which is pretend there are rules and just kind of, follow them when we feel like it, and the rest of the time ignore it. And it's just kind of a comfortable fiction to add some spice to it. Or we could follow the rules and be very strict about like, oh, your 60 seconds is up. Are you going to use an extension? And then count the extensions.
Well, and there is a place for that kind of structure. Like that's how it works on sports television because they're up against a hard ad break that they have. And we don't have any of that. So it seems like option 2 is my favorite, which is what we've been doing.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest,
I could also see just getting rid of it for various reasons of, well, then that's one less thing Bryce has to worry about. And it's one less thing that makes certain people upset. And we don't have to worry about it. But I think it is kind of fun to just yell extension.
dude, it's super fun. It's super fun.
Like it.
Breaking the rules is fun. And we get to break them. We made up a bunch of rules and then we get to break them. And to me, that's fun.
Okay. Recommendations of shows to watch. Even if maybe you aren't watching them right now, maybe this is a show that I liked.
Well,
so maybe
A prescription, basically.
Oh, okay. I was like, well, if I haven't watched it, I'm not going to recommend
something you're
it.
not watching right now.
Right,
Yeah.
It's something I watched previously.
To be honest, what this sounds like is, and I'm sure you're familiar with it, Tom, but at the end of Weird Things, we do picks, and picks is not a review or a what I experienced or whatever. It's like, I think you need to watch this or listen to this or read this or whatever. Which I don't know that that's what our
I
show
feel like
is.
that's covered in what we're watching because that is also our picks because that's why we're watching it.
No. But in fact, oftentimes it's the opposite. It's we say,
I know. We
I'm
do
watching
picks
it,
on
but I hate
DTS,
this, so.
Yeah, I don't know. Sure.
I mean, maybe even if it was.
That's definitely one for Brian and I to kick around if we're looking at the entire rundown.
I feel like
deciding-
there's not a place for it. Because
Yeah, there isn't right now. There's not an obvious place for it. But if
Yeah.
we did start moving things around, maybe we could add it.
Sure.
Yeah.
A 2015 How to Kill the Cord. That was an early video you guys did.
for sure.
Yeah, we
That's
should
just
do
a
an
matter of
annual
timing. We
version
just need
of that.
the time to do.
Talking about kind of what was mentioned in the feedback of today's show about talking to your telecom and trying to get a deal or finding seasonal deals from different telecoms, but there's so many markets. That's really difficult.
I tell you what, it's been long enough that we have new fans that never knew about the chicken challenge, which tells me that maybe over the next few weeks we should bring back. Maybe it's a summer thing. We call it the Summer Chicken Challenge. We just play with it
I don't
during
know.
the summer.
I like the chicken challenge. I find the stories about them to be kind of repetitive.
A little bit, but it's reinforcement.
Yeah. All right.
We got a little bit of a conflicting report on this one. Some people wanted you guys to commit better to shows, a la The Walking Dead or Twin Peaks.
Totally bailed on Twin Peaks.
Equally, to end shows you just don't like, a la Marco Polo.
To be honest, one of the things I'm most proud of is that despite the fact that neither of us enjoyed it, we continued to watch Marco Polo. I feel like that was a unique.
But then why didn't you continue to watch Twin Peaks? I mean, to me, this just means that we're doing it right. Like sometimes we stick it out and sometimes we can't.
Right. Well, in the case of Marco Polo, it made it a lot easier that both of us were on the same frustrated, annoyed journey together.
Walking Dead is a different matter entirely. I think that's a phenomenon that has a lot of variables to it. Twin Peaks is very straightforward to me. I suggested it to Brian. He started watching it. He didn't want to keep watching it. To me, that's totally fair. Marco Polo was something like Brian just said. We did it together, and we
held hands.
New.
Yeah.
Right? It was brand new. So we're like, let's experience this to the end.
We Thelma and Louised Marco Polo.
Yeah. I do wonder sometimes if we shouldn't split up Spoiler in Time. Now Bryce is going to shoot an arrow into my head for even suggested that. But in the abstract, not suggesting let's do it, but like it would be cool to say like we are going to do these 12 episodes of this season and they're available in chunks so that you could more easily go and find them later and play along with us.
I mean, again, that would be, to be honest, if we were going to play the YouTube game properly, what we would do is we would carve out every single segment of what we're doing. We would carve out every product review. We would carve out every review, content review, and we would post them individually. We would do, to be honest, what Game On was on track to do with Chad, because Chad was working so hard to get double numbers that he would post the full episode of Game On, then he would carve out every individual piece and post it day by day by day, hoping that if anyone searches for a review for Puzzle Juice that they would find it. But I don't know that that's where our audience lives.
I mean, it could. I don't know that it's worth the time and effort it would take at this point.
I don't know that the ecosystem is so big that we want to invest that kind of energy in there.
It's something down the. It's something as an ideal that I agree with, though.
Yeah, I agree.
I got 2 minutes.
You've got 2 minutes, so just one sentence response to these. Something on upcoming movies.
Dude, we did it. It's called the movie draft, and y'all hated it, so we moved it to the ghetto of Spoiler in Time. Congratulations, assholes!
Oh, stop.
Okay.
I don't think upcoming movies does fit into Cordkillers very well.
All right,
it just doesn't.
All right, go ahead.
Fan voting. This is an idea for a Spoiler in Time thing where fans would vote on a show for a limited run.
Kind of like
Spoiler
that.
in Time.
That's a great idea for the one moment that Tom and I both realize that we don't have anything on our plates. If our plates are ever empty, that will be the way that we fill our plates.
If there was a voting that said, can you watch 4 episodes of this show for X?
I like the idea of them nominating shows and we both watch commit to watching one episode. And then it's up to us.
We could do that as a special event, but I am not going to be on the hook to watch all of Fringe because I do not have time.
I'm saying a limited run.
That's what I just said. You watch the first episode and then you decide whether you want to continue or not.
Yeah, that's what I just agreed with. I heard what you said, and I agreed with
it. But you would need to agree more.
Okay, the point is you're 100% right, Tom.
No, you're 100% right.
No, your face is 100% right.
All right, one last one, and this was a small thing. When talking during review segments, which there aren't a lot of, but when talking about apps that you guys have used or just like testimonial bits, re-mentioning the apps and platforms, because I don't know, people get to the end of a segment and
we'll
they're
try
like,
to keep that in mind. That's just good. Yeah. That's just typical good radio, which is, when you're keeping in mind that when people are listening or watching, if you've said something and then they missed it, you might want to repeat it a couple times so they know what you're talking about. Thank you. Good reminder.
Damn
that's it.
Straight. Hey, man, thank you to everybody who makes this possible for us. And please do not be shy about writing us at cordkillers@gmail.com. Please comment on all of these subjects or issues. We're going to keep doing our best to treat you right.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your support. It means the world to us.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.